Climate activists desperately want to convince Americans that the world is coming to an end. It doesn't seem to be working, even in the Democratic primaries. The Democratic National Committee just voted to kill a proposed debate by the presidential candidates on climate change, a decision that enraged a coalition of organizations that have been pushing for months to get the DNC to sanction a debate solely on that one issue. Our entire future is at stake, but DNC Chair Tom Perez just swept aside the climate crisis for someone else to solve. That isn't leadership. That isn't normal order. That isn't what it means to be a Democrat, declared a joint statement signed by a coalition of climate activist groups including Greenpeace USA, Sunrise Movement and Friends of the Earth Action. The coalition, which describes itself as grassroots, said it delivered 540,000 petition signatures demanding a climate debate to the DNC's headquarters in June, made phone calls to DNC members and lobbied state and county parties to pass resolutions. It didn't work. Perez said there are dozens of requests for debates on a single issue, but he didn't want to change the rules in the middle of the process. That's rather bureaucratic for something Democrats insist on calling an existential threat. What's the reason? Advertising. It's probably the same reason Washington Governor Jay Inslee just dropped out of the presidential race. Inslee made his campaign about the primacy of the issue of climate change. Voters didn't see the urgency of electing him. He barely registered in the polls. Polls have shown mixed signals on the subject of climate action. In June, a Pew Research poll found that only 46% of people said climate change is a very big problem. A 2017 Reuters poll found that while 72% of Americans agreed that the U.S. should take aggressive action to slow global warming, only 4% cited the environment as a bigger issue than the economy, terrorism, immigration and other topics. For the hardcore 4%, CNN is hosting a climate town hall on Sept. 4 that will give viewers a chance to compare Joe Biden's $6.7 trillion climate plan with Bernie Sanders' $16 trillion climate plan. Climate activists want these plans to be seen by a wider audience. Climate change is an emergency, said a spokesperson for the Sunrise Movement, but Tom Perez isn't acting like it. The Sunrise Movement is the group that brought children to Capitol Hill to jail at Sen. Dianne Feinstein about her failure to support the Green New Deal. People who have been in politics a long time apparently sense they won't win elections with multi-trillion-dollar plans that call for banning cows and gasoline-powered cars. Even in California, politicians know better than to declare it a climate crime to drive through an In-N-Out burger on the way home from work. Advertising, but they can't stop activist groups like the Sunrise Movement from telling little kids that unless the Green New Deal is implemented in the next 10 years, we're all going to die. Little kids are too young to remember all the other climate predictions that have failed to stand the test of time. This week, the famed hockey stick graph, first published in 1998 by Penn State's Drive. Michael Mann and featured prominently in a 2001 UN climate report, melted down completely. Hockey stick supposedly showed a sharp and unprecedented rise in global temperatures in the 20th century after 5 centuries of stability, but some climate scientists said it was inaccurate and possibly a deliberate fraud. One of those scientists, Canadian climatologist Drive Ball, wrote that Mann belongs in the state pen, not Penn State. Mann sued Ball for libel in 2011. Ball asserted a truth defense and asked for access to the data and calculations underlying the hockey stick analysis. Do you have something to say? Share your opinion by sending a letter to the editor. Email letters@seattletimes.com and please include your full name, address and telephone number for verification only. Letters are limited to 200 words. This week, the Supreme Court of British Columbia dismissed Mann's libel case with prejudice and ordered him to pay Ball's legal costs. The reason? Man refused to produce the documents, even when ordered by the court. It's getting harder, not easier, to persuade Americans of the need for multi-trillion-dollar climate plans. Democratic Party leaders are doing the candidates a favor by keeping their climate debate out of sight of as many TV viewers as possible. Susan Shelley is an editorial writer and columnist for the Southern California News Group. Let's block ads. Why?